I broke things off with my girlfriend because she didn't want to have sex before marriage. Now, months later, she wants us to get back together, but during our time apart, she ended up sleeping with someone else. I'm a 26-year-old guy, and I first met her about 5 years ago when we were both living in different dorm buildings on our college campus. Not long after that, we started dating, and honestly, we were really happy for most of it. But there was always this one thing between us. She was raised in a very religious household. Her dad is actually a pastor. She's been honest with them that she doesn't really follow the faith anymore. Her family wasn't thrilled about it, but they respected that she had to make her own choices. Still, I think some of those old beliefs stuck with her, whether she wanted them to or not. I was raised in a different religion, but I never really took it seriously, and these days I don't consider myself religious at all. Our relationship felt pretty normal in most ways, except for the fact that she told me right from the start that she was a virgin and wanted to stay that way until she was married. It wasn't for religious reasons, though. She had made it clear she didn't believe in that stuff anymore. But she did care a lot about not letting her dad down. That seemed to be the main reason behind her decision. We were physically intimate in other ways, just not intercourse. For me, I had never been lucky with girls growing up. When we started dating, I was still a virgin myself, and I still am if you go by the idea that being a virgin means never having had actual intercourse. Over time, though, I started feeling frustrated. Everyone else around me seemed to be having normal sexual relationships, and I just couldn't wrap my head around why we weren't. I never tried to pressure her or make her feel bad about it, but I was quietly growing more and more resentful. To me, marriage seemed like something far off. I was a broke college student trying to get through school. Last year was my final year of university, and by then she had already graduated and started her first real job. Her program was shorter, so she finished ahead of me even though she's younger. She kept mentioning all these impressive, successful men she met at work. And honestly, it made me feel like I wasn't good enough, like I was falling behind while she was moving ahead. On top of that, she still wasn't willing to have a full sexual relationship with me. The resentment just kept building. We argued about it a few times. Eventually, I came to the conclusion that maybe we just wanted different things out of life and that maybe it was time to end things. Breaking up was brutal. She cried a lot and I felt like a complete jerk afterward. It's been nearly 9 months since that happened. We didn't speak at all for most of that time. I didn't date anyone else. I was completely focused on finishing school and getting through exams. Now that I've finally graduated and am about to start my first real job, she reached out to me again and asked if we could meet up. I wasn't sure at first, but I figured we had shared so many good memories that maybe it was worth hearing what she had to say. When we met, she told me she had been missing me like crazy over the last 6 months. That she'd been thinking a lot and now she's open to having sex if we get back together. I asked her what changed. Why now? She got a little uncomfortable. After I pushed a bit, she admitted she had a short fling with one of the older guys from her workplace during our time apart. She made it clear it was all consensual, but she said the guy had really pursued her hard until she gave in. Eventually, she ended it with him. I was stunned. I just sat there trying to understand how she could say no to me for 4 whole years but then sleep with someone else she barely knew. I asked her point blank if the only reason she's ready for a sexual relationship now is because she's not a virgin anymore. She said yes. I told her I needed time to think and asked her to give me some space. I feel torn. On one hand, I've missed her deeply and still have strong feelings. But on the other hand, I can't shake the feeling that I was just strung along. Logically, it all seems like we could pick up where we left off, maybe even better this time around. But emotionally, I feel awful. Something just doesn't sit right. Some people online are being harsh about her, which I kind of expected. But the truth is, she's not some terrible person. She's still the funny, kind, smart, beautiful woman I fell for. Any guy would be lucky to be with her, and I would be too if I wasn't so caught up in all this emotional baggage. She might regret sleeping with that other guy, but that part isn't really my business. We were broken up and she had every right to make her own choices. I honestly didn't think I'd ever hear from her again. This whole thing just blindsided me. I think what hurts the most is how much of a blow this has been to my self-esteem. I feel like the lesser man here. And I'll admit that. That's on me and it's something I need to work through. This whole experience has left me with a lot of emotional hang-ups around sex and intimacy. A few folks suggested that maybe I should talk to a therapist, and I think they're right. I'm going to look into that. I need help working through all this. One commenter suggested I ask her why she slept with that guy so quickly when she wouldn't with me after years. That hit me hard because I don't know the answer. She never gave me one. All she said was the guy was persistent. I'm stuck between two options, just sending her a message saying I don't want to try again and leaving it at that, or asking her more questions and digging into something that already hurts. Part of me doesn't even know if I can handle hearing more about her relationship with that guy. Sometimes I wonder if something's wrong with me. A few people said I seem immature, and maybe that's true. I know I ended the relationship and I know she had every right to do whatever she wanted after that. But that doesn't make it hurt any less. Maybe it's time to just close this chapter for good. Update 1. Hey again. I want to thank everyone who commented on my last post. I was blown away by the response, over 2,000 comments. I never thought that many people would care about my situation. Seriously, thank you. Just a heads up, this next part is going to be long. For context, I've kept a daily journal since I was 17 years old. A lot of what you're about to read is straight from the pages of my personal journal. I'll admit it, I'm not great at being brief. And just so we're clear, I'll be calling my ex Rachel from now on. That's not her real name, but it'll do. I want to take a moment to talk about all the comments I got on my original post. I was genuinely touched by how many people chimed in with their opinions and advice. I read every single one, and I really do appreciate the time people took. The bulk of the comments were saying pretty much the same thing: move on. Make a clean break. And honestly, there's a lot of wisdom in that. It's a strong option. A smaller number of folks thought I should give her another shot, see how things go. And then there were plenty of comments calling me selfish for breaking up with her just because we weren't having sex, or saying I was too hung up on her virginity. Some people framed it like I dumped her because she wouldn't sleep with me, and a few even suggested I pushed her emotionally into the arms of another guy by breaking up with her, that I made her feel like sex was the only way to keep a man around. A few people even joked that she might be pregnant. Far as I know, she's not. I mean, it's possible, but if that does happen, it won't have anything to do with me. Then there were the guys in the comments saying I should just sleep with her and ditch her after, some even suggested worse. To be honest, some of you really need a hug or maybe to talk to a therapist. That's not who I am, and I could never treat her or anyone that way. No matter what happened between us, Rachel and I shared years of love and care. That still matters even if we're no longer together. Feeling hurt doesn't give me the right to use her. Some people said I was obsessed with the idea of taking her virginity. But that was never the real issue for me. What bothered me was that we never had a sexual relationship at all. Her virginity was just the reason she gave. It could have been anything. If she hadn't been a virgin but still wanted to abstain, I'd have been in the same boat. For 6 full years, Rachel had everything she wanted from our relationship: someone who loved her, supported her, stayed loyal, and respected her choice to not have sex. And while she got what she needed, I was left with a big, empty space in the relationship that never got filled. There was no middle ground. Either we were having sex or we weren't. And we weren't. Looking back now, I should have ended things early on, back when she first told me she was waiting until marriage. But I was 20 back then, naive, and had never been in a serious relationship. I really liked her, and we clicked so well that I just went with it, hoping things might change. I ended up falling in love and staying in a relationship that didn't meet all my needs. I've learned from that. Going forward, I want to be more intentional with my choices, not just drift along because someone else wants things a certain way. Our values around sex just didn't line up. So I ended it instead of hanging around hoping she'd eventually change her mind. It was terrifying, and I stalled on doing it because I didn't want to hurt her. But I couldn't keep staying just for her. I had to think about my own well-being too. My biggest regret is not breaking it off sooner. That might have spared her more pain. Some people said sex isn't that big of a deal. And for some folks, maybe it isn't. But for me, in a committed relationship, it matters. You're free to disagree. That's okay. Everyone has different needs. There were also people who took issue with me saying she strung me along. And on reflection, that's a fair point. She was honest from the start about what she wanted. I just ignored that and kept hoping for something different. So really, I strung myself along. She never made promises she didn't keep. What stings is knowing she had sex with the next guy pretty quickly, after I waited for so long. But at the end of the day, she's my ex. That part of her life is no longer mine to worry about. She has every right to do what she wants. My reaction is emotional, not rational. Logically, I know she didn't betray me. It just hurts my pride. Makes me feel like I wasn't good enough. Deep down, I know that's not true. But it still feels that way sometimes. I was not the perfect boyfriend. I made plenty of mistakes. But I've taken lessons from them. I do not regret breaking up with Rachel. I still believe that was the right move for me. Anyway, that's the background. Let me tell you what's happened since. Last weekend was Australia Day, so a few friends and I went camping out in the Grampians. For anyone reading from Australia, you probably know the spot. It was refreshing to be out in the wild, hiking, sitting around the fire, and just taking a break from everything. Talking through the Rachel situation with my buddies around the fire helped a lot. Most of them had known her over the years and had their own thoughts. Some lined up with what people online were saying and some didn't. And of course, I caught the usual teasing about still being a virgin. Apparently, they've been saving this fancy, expensive bottle of scotch for the day I finally crossed that milestone. Jerks, but I love 'em. One friend asked me something that really hit home. Would I have ever reached out to Rachel if she hadn't texted me first? The answer came to me immediately, no. I wouldn't have. That realization cut through all the mixed feelings I had. I was just reacting to her moves instead of making my own decisions. That had to stop. By the time we packed up and headed back, I was clear. I didn't want to get back together with her. But turns out that decision didn't even matter anymore. As we got back to civilization and I finally had mobile service again, there was no coverage at the campsite. My phone lit up with a bunch of messages from Rachel all at once. She said she had made a mistake asking to get back together. That she was actually back with Liam. Yeah, the same guy she told me was just a casual thing. She went on to admit their relationship was more serious than she let on. She apologized for not being honest about it when we met. She asked if we could meet to talk it over. I was annoyed and honestly pretty upset, so I just shot back a quick no. Not my most mature moment, but I didn't feel like hearing more lies. It really threw me off, Rachel lying like that. That wasn't like her. She tried calling me, but I let it ring. Then another message came through. Liam and I had a fight. I shouldn't have come to you. I'm sorry. When I got home, curiosity got the better of me. I went online and looked up Liam. His name is pretty uncommon, so it didn't take long to find him. I found his full name on LinkedIn, confirmed it through his workplace. Rachel is one of his connections. He works at the same firm, and according to his profile, he's a director. Just one step below a partner. Liam had an Instagram account, and yeah, I looked through it. Tons of photos from different places around the world, events, fancy vacations, exotic getaways. There were pictures of his flashy car, and even a few with Rachel, the two of them with their arms wrapped around each other in Singapore back in November. So yeah, that made it pretty clear this wasn't just some casual hookup like she originally said. No guy posts photos like that with a fling. Seeing all of it just made me feel small. I knew I shouldn't have, but I started comparing myself to him. And nothing good ever comes from that kind of thinking. Rachel's not mine anymore, and I am not competing with Liam. I had to remind myself of that. Still, my ego took a hit. I spent all my college years living cheap, basically broke. So when I see guys with money and status, it triggers something in me. That's a personal thing I need to work through. Anyway, all that happened Sunday afternoon into the evening. Then on Tuesday night, Rachel showed up at my place. She said she knew I probably didn't want to talk, but she felt terrible about everything and hoped I'd give her the chance to explain. Just talk it out. And if I still wanted her out of my life afterward, she'd walk away for good. I let her in. I was still upset about everything, but I figured maybe I'd get some clarity if nothing else. The conversation lasted almost 7 hours. It was long and emotional, but here's the core of what I remember. When we broke up, she was completely heartbroken. She said it took a couple of months before she started to feel like herself again. She missed me constantly, but we both agreed to keep our distance and give each other space to heal. Then in September, she met Liam at work. He manages another team, so technically he isn't her boss. According to her, he was charming, good-looking, and showed interest in her almost right away. They spent time getting to know each other, and eventually he asked her out. She said she worried it might be a rebound, but getting that kind of attention made her feel better, so she went for it. After a while, real feelings developed, and eventually they became physically involved. So no, it wasn't some one-night stand. She had been seeing him for a while first. Last time we talked, she told me he'd been very persistent when it came to sex. I brought that up and asked her what she really meant. She admitted she wasn't being totally honest. She said she made it sound like she was reluctant because she thought it would hurt me less if I believed she had hesitated. She thought framing it that way would make me less upset about it all. I told her that actually made things worse. I had been worried that she might have been coerced or even assaulted. She looked stunned and said, "No, not at all." In fact, she said she was the one who initiated the physical side of their relationship. I told her I didn't appreciate the lie, but I understood why she told it. And I don't blame her for changing her mind about sex. She's an adult, free to make those decisions. Yeah, it stung to hear it, but I don't judge her for it. It's her life. She started crying and said, "I thought for sure you hated me now." I told her I didn't. She said she was sad that things didn't work out between us and that she never would have walked away from her commitment to wait until marriage if we hadn't broken up. Apparently, after we split, she did a lot of thinking and realized she had made that promise to her dad when she was still just a kid and that it no longer aligned with the life she wanted. So when things got serious with Liam, she had already decided she was ready to be intimate with the right person. I asked about her dad and she simply said he doesn't need to know. Then I asked why she reached out to me in the first place. She said Liam is 37 and has been working at their firm for a decade. One day at work, another woman made a snide comment to Rachel about being just another one of Liam's girls. That got Rachel curious, so she did some digging. Turned out Liam has a reputation. Apparently, he's dated a long line of women from their office, many of them younger, fresh out of school, just like Rachel. Word around the office is that she's just the next one on his list. She felt sick to her stomach when she found that out. She confronted him, told him she felt used, and ended things. That's when she reached out to me, thinking maybe we could start fresh now that her views on sex had changed. But after I asked for time to think and she had a chance to cool off, she realized that rushing back into things with me was a mistake. Over the weekend, Liam apparently reached out and asked her to give their relationship another try. She agreed. Since I was still off-grid, she sent those messages that came through when I got back from camping. So that's that. I do not want to get back together with her, and she's back with him anyway. It's settled. Before she left, we talked a little more, just casual stuff. She asked how my family was doing, congratulated me on finishing school, and asked if I'd been dating anyone. I told her I'd just been working and studying nonstop, mostly retail shifts since finals ended. She laughed and called me a nerd like old times. She said she hoped we could be friendly if we ever ran into each other again, but made it clear she wanted to keep some distance to respect her relationship with Liam. She said she really wanted to give it a shot. I understood. She hugged me, thanked me for being kind, and left. So that's how Rachel brought me into her relationship drama. Would have been nice if she hadn't, but at least everything is out in the open now. What I'm truly grateful for is that I listened to my gut. If I'd rushed into things or let emotions cloud my thinking, I might have walked right into a mess. Giving myself time and space helped me see the bigger picture. Despite how complicated it's all been, I still care about Rachel. She's dealing with a lot, figuring out her relationship, handling gossip at work. I hope she finds peace and happiness, whether it's with Liam or someone else. She was my first love and I'll always have a soft spot for her. But I know now for certain that our story is over. She's part of my past and I'm finally ready to move forward. This whole post turned into an essay, huh? My university tutors always said I rambled too much in my writing. Well, guess what? I'm not a student anymore. I can ramble if I want. Now, my focus is on starting this next chapter. My new job kicks off on Monday and I am beyond ready. No more theory, time to put my skills to real use. The pay is way better than what I've been used to and I won't be scraping by like I did in school. Graduation is coming up in May and I'm actually excited about it. I'm open to dating again, but that's not even close to a priority right now. I'm not chasing anything. If it happens, it happens. One last note about Rachel A. I came to peace with our breakup months ago. When she reached out again, it stirred up some old feelings, but now I can see those were just echoes of who we used to be, not who we are now. This whole whirlwind? That was all Rachel's drama, not mine. Honestly, I wish Rachel had never dragged me into all that mess. I would have been perfectly fine not knowing anything about her romantic life. I didn't need to know she was dating some wealthy, well-traveled guy or that they were sleeping together. She's definitely changed a lot. The girl I fell for used to be almost brutally honest, always upfront, sometimes to a fault. But the version of her I've had to deal with recently? She wasn't that same person. I think that's what bothered me most about the lying. It wasn't just the lie itself, it was how out of character it felt coming from her. But I guess that's life. People change. She's in the corporate world now, surrounded by folks who probably live by a very different code than the religious one she grew up with. Anyway, I've removed myself from her life completely. Whatever happens with her now, that's her business, not mine. If she ever tries to come back, I'll simply remind her that we agreed to leave each other alone and I'll stick to that. I'm not looking for another relationship right now. No dating apps for me. And no, I'm not out here trying to have random hookups either. I may still be a virgin, but what I want is a meaningful connection, not just sex for the sake of it. Like I said before, if the right woman comes into my life, I'd be open to it. But I'm not out there chasing anything. Right now, I want to keep my head down and focus on getting my career off the ground. About closure. A lot of folks in the comments said that final talk with Rachel was just for her benefit, that she walked away with all the closure and I got nothing. But honestly, it helped me too. Seeing who she is now, the person she's becoming, just confirmed what I already suspected deep down. We're not right for each other anymore. She's changed a lot over the past year, and it actually started while we were still dating, right after she started the job. She started tossing around phrases like, work hard, play hard. Started acting more dismissive, a little colder toward people. I could tell her environment was rubbing off on her. And yeah, maybe that's normal when you're around corporate types, but still, she chose to let that influence her. I'll always have love for the girl she used to be. But if I'm being honest, I don't even know if I like the person she is now. That conversation didn't feel like an intrusion, it felt like a clean, solid end to everything we had. I walked away with peace of mind. We both agreed not to reach out again, and she gave me her word. If she ever breaks that promise, I'll remind her of what she said. Update 2. So if you remember from my earlier posts, Rachel and I agreed to go no contact after that whole roller coaster. And yeah, I listened to people here and went ahead and blocked her just to make sure there were no slip-ups. Since February, I've been working full-time as a graduate engineer, and it's been everything I hoped it would be. Every day I get to learn from talented, driven people, and after years of scraping by as a broke student, I'm finally earning a real paycheck. It feels incredible to have a little money in the bank, to be able to go out for a meal without stressing about every cent. After I graduated in November, I moved in with my brother for a bit. He had just broken up with his girlfriend and needed help covering the rent. That's where I was living when Rachel came by that last time. Eventually, my brother found a new roommate, and since his place was way on the other side of the central business district, far from my job, I found a new place closer to work. Now I'm living in a shared house in Melbourne's southeast. The house is a little worn out, but for Melbourne's standards, the rent's decent. The area is great, tons of pubs, cafes, and restaurants around, and my housemates are cool. And here's the big one, I'm seeing someone. Her name's not really Jenna, but that's what I'll call her here. She's the sister of one of my housemates. We first met at a barbecue at our place. She stopped by to hang out and we got to talking. We were still deep in conversation hours later, even after everyone else had gone home. Her brother eventually poked his head out and told us to shut up so he could get some sleep, haha. I asked her out later that week and we've been close ever since. Her brother, my housemate, has been giving us a hard time in that older brother kind of way, especially when Jenna stays the night. Lots of crude jokes. Gotta love it. We made things official 9 weeks ago, so it's still pretty new. But man, Jenna's amazing. Smart, funny, stunning. We just click. The chemistry between us is electric. She's an accountant at a big firm, and last month, one of her coworkers hosted a party and invited us both. It was a big crowd, 50, maybe 60 people. I didn't know anyone except Jenna. At one point, I offered to go grab more drinks, and the kitchen was in a different room. While I was in there, a guy next to me asked if I could pass him a beer. I said sure, handed him one, and we exchanged introductions. Hi, I'm Liam, he said. We made small talk for a couple minutes, our jobs, how we knew the host, and then I excused myself and went back to Jenna. I didn't recognize his face. I'd never actually met him before. But as soon as I heard his name, the job, the company, it clicked. That was Rachel's Liam. He looked to be in his 30s, a little older than the rest of the crowd. Neither of us mentioned Rachel during the chat. Nothing about it felt awkward at the time. Later, I asked Jenna's coworker Maya how she knew Liam. She said she used to work with him at the same company where Rachel still works. Maya had since moved to Jenna's firm. Funny how in a city of 7 million, the world still feels so small. On the tram ride home, Jenna noticed I was quiet and asked what I was thinking about. I told her the truth, that the guy at the party was my ex's boyfriend. I wasn't sure if he recognized me, but he hadn't said anything if he had. That opened the door to me telling Jenna more about my past with Rachel. She was surprised and said, "Wait, you never told me you were a virgin." Then she smirked and added, "Well, not anymore." We laughed. She asked if I still had any feelings for Rachel, and I told her honestly, no. I dealt with all that a long time ago. A few weeks later, Jenna invited me to a formal charity dinner her firm was sponsoring. She was excited to show me off to her coworkers, and I was happy to go. We were seated at a table with a bunch of her colleagues, nice people, really welcoming. One of them joked about how much Jenna talked about me at work, said they couldn't wait to meet the famous boyfriend. That made me feel pretty great, not gonna lie. After dinner, we were mingling and chatting when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned around and there was Rachel. And standing beside her? Liam. Seeing them together again in person was surreal. Liam told me he remembered meeting me at the party but hadn't connected the dots until just now. I guess Rachel must have filled him in since then. She looked different. Very different. She had lost a lot of weight, looked super slim in this tight red dress that definitely wouldn't have gotten her dad's stamp of approval. Not that she was ever heavy, but this was a dramatic change. Her makeup was flawless, she had shiny jewelry that looked pricey even to me, and she had dyed her hair blonde, no trace of the auburn color I remembered. She looked like a polished, upscale version of someone I used to know. Not the shy pastor's daughter from our college days. Do not get me wrong, Rachel looked incredible. But she also looked like someone I barely recognized. Sure, it was a formal event and everyone was dressed to the nines, but she'd gone through a full transformation. Glamorous, confident, polished in a way I'd never seen before. And yet, seeing her like that, I felt absolutely nothing. No butterflies. No regrets. Just nothing. She came right up to me, smiling, and said she was thrilled to see me again. Then she lifted her hand to show off a diamond ring that looked massive. I don't know much about jewelry, but it screamed expensive. I smiled and congratulated them both. Just then, Jenna returned to my side. I introduced her to Rachel and Liam, and Jenna casually slipped her arm around me. Rachel's smile faltered like someone hit pause on her face. The silence got awkward fast. I just nodded and said it was good to see them again, then wished them well with the wedding. Liam wandered off and Rachel lingered for a second, almost like she wanted to say more, but she didn't. Later that evening, as Jenna and I were leaving the venue, I caught Rachel watching us walk out. Her eyes followed us the whole way. Once we were outside, Jenna glanced over and said, "I think she still has feelings for you." I just shrugged and said, "It doesn't matter." Fast forward a few days, my brother shot me a message. Turns out Rachel had dropped by his place looking for me. You called it, Reddit? Thankfully, he knew better than to tell her where I'd moved. He just told her I didn't live there anymore and left it at that. The next day, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. Of course, it was her. Rachel. She didn't acknowledge that she was breaking our no-contact agreement. No mention of showing up at my brother's place either. Just a breezy, "It was so lovely seeing you again," followed by, "I've missed you," and then some comment about Jenna, "That girl you were with is very pretty. How serious is it?" She also mentioned how she and Liam were making big wedding plans for next year and said she hoped I'd come. That was the last straw. I was frustrated, not just because she reached out again, but because she was trying to drag me back into her world like her life was somehow still my business. She had made a promise to stay away, and here she was going out of her way to bypass the blocks I'd set up, even using a brand new email account to do it. I showed Jenna the message. She rolled her eyes and asked, "Why do you think she sent that?" She's always sharp when it comes to people and motives, way better at reading between the lines than I am. The truth is, I do not know exactly what Rachel wants, but I can guess. Maybe she's looking for emotional reassurance again. Maybe things with Liam are falling apart. Maybe she's testing the waters, seeing if I'll respond. Whatever the reason, it's not my problem anymore. She has friends. She has family. She doesn't need to lean on me. I deleted the email and blocked the address without replying. Then I created a filter so any future messages with her name go straight to the trash. I meant it when I said no contact, and I still do, even if she clearly does not. Later, Jenna and I had a quick chat about it. I asked if any of it worried her. She just smiled and said, "Nah, I didn't get serial killer vibes from her. She's cool like that. No drama, no jealousy, just calm, confident, and supportive. And I'm grateful none of this scared her off. If anything, it showed her exactly who I am, a guy who sticks to his word, who doesn't entertain ghosts from the past." So yeah, nothing wild happened. No explosions. But this just proves what a lot of you already said: Rachel couldn't keep her promise. But here's the good news. This time, it was easy to walk away. Easier than I ever thought it could be. Life right now? It's pretty great. I've got a fantastic new girlfriend who makes me laugh every day, a cozy spot to call home, and a job I genuinely love. After all the chaos, things finally feel steady. I feel free. And leaving Rachel behind? That part came naturally.